Welcome back, everybody. So accountability and oversight are constitutional requirements in all the spheres of government in South Africa. But poor performance, misappropriation of state resources and corruption in some government departments have continued to be a major challenge. Just yesterday, Health Minister Dr Zweli Mkhize confirmed that a communications contract awarded to a company co-owned by known associates of his have been found to have been irregular, but remained mum on corrective measures to be taken against implicated persons. To get an insight on how severe the apparent lack of accountability is in our government spheres, we are joined by Lawson Naidoo from the Council for the Advancement of the South African Constitution. Lawson, always a pleasure chatting to you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Good morning, Leanne. Thank you very much.
Witness testimony of overwhelming corruption and state capture has been provided by the Commission of Inquiry now into state capture, yet not much action seems to have been taken. Have government officials almost become immune to being accountable to citizens that they supposedly serve?
Well, that would seem to be the state of affairs, sadly, Leanne, that despite all of the evidence we've heard from the Zondo Commission over the last 3 years, the fact that we had a major PPE procurement scandal last year where, many government departments, municipalities and other entities were implicated in inflating prices and fraudulent dealings in procuring PPE equipment. And now here we have the National Department of Health in the midst of a global pandemic, wasting 150 million rands of public money by purporting to outsource core functions of a government department. This is not some specialist issue. This is the core function, which is media and communications. Now, there's a media team in the Department of Health. There's the Government Communication and Information Service. And if I was employed in either of those, I would be rather perturbed that the department is seeking external assistance to do what I am employed to do in that department.
I think you touch on a very sensitive issue because, as much as there may be lots of misappropriation of funds and corruption that is happening in several departments, but when it starts hitting so close to home, where in the middle of a pandemic, the man that we look up to as our health minister, to the department that we take all sort of steps that are advised from them to try our best to get out of this pandemic alive. And people are dying all around us, and the lack of funds is always cited as something that is one of the major issues. And yet you look at this, and this of course is something that we really do need to look at and take very, very seriously.
Indeed we do. And this issue it's an issue of trust. The public must have trust in the National Department of Health, in the Minister of Health, to be able to guide us through this pandemic. Here we are as a nation on the cusp of a third wave. There's a possibility of further restrictions being imposed. And if the minister is unable to have the respect of the South African public, what chance do we have of getting people to adhere to restrictions, to social distancing and the like, and encouraging people to go and get vaccinated if the minister is shrouded in a controversy such as this?
At the end of the day, the minister is the accounting officer. And, he was basically, if we get back to the story, saying that he denied any knowledge of the fact that his, that Digital Vibes, who the personal assistant of his and spokesperson from a previous department, was running this company. Now, we ourselves have seen that he was accompanied by them wherever he went, but he denied any knowledge of basically knowing that they were appointed, or he doesn't know any signing off of any contracts. He doesn't. So there was a lot of things that he said he didn't understand, he didn't know, and yet it happened, and yet all this money has gone. Surely there has to be more accountability on this one.
Well, such bland denials from the minister don't inspire any confidence, I have to say, Leanne. But perhaps let's just point out the minister is not the accounting officer. In terms of the PFMA, it is the Director General of the department that is the accounting officer. But the minister has overall political accountability for what happens there. And for him to issue these bland denials is simply not good enough. If that were you or I, Leanne, and someone that we had employed in a close capacity, such as a personal assistant or a spokesperson, the minute the story broke, one would have called that person and said, what is going on? How did this happen? My name is being dragged through the mud here. You need to explain yourself. The minister hasn't told us whether he's done that or not, or whether he simply ignored it and is pretending to be the fact that he didn't personally benefit, that he holds no culpability. Well, I'm not sure that that's how systems of integrity really work, because it does impact on the credibility of the minister, and he needs to take political accountability for what has happened.
Yeah. Let me go back and correct what I did say about the accounting officer. So you have corrected me, but let's focus on the DG, because the DG was present as well. I mean, what responsibility should land on his shoulders? I mean, surely something. I mean, there was an admission of guilt that happened yesterday at the same time, saying that there was an irregular contract. I mean, there in itself is a problem. Surely that's where we should have seen somebody saying, look, I'm going to step down, step aside, I'm going to resign, or actually be fired for something that there is absolute fault there.
Well, indeed, the purpose of the minister's briefing yesterday was to to brief the nation on the outcome of this independent investigation that was conducted at the behest of the department, which is separate from the Special Investigating Unit inquiry that is ongoing. But to simply, again say that there were irregularities, but not, saying, well, we've taken action.
Yeah.
The following people have been suspended. The following people are going to be facing disciplinary action, etc. It inspires no confidence. It seems to suggest, as has happened in the past, we're going through the motions, that there will be some sort of investigation, but ultimately the matter will be swept under the carpet, as it has been done for over many, many years, with no consequences. Government keep talking about consequence management, but yet we see very little of it.
And now he has confirmed that, of course, this investigation has been handed over to the president. Let's talk to politics now, because we give it to the president and we wait to see for that consequence management to happen. In your view, what do you think is going to happen?
Well, the matter is the president is likely to not say anything until the SIU have reported, which I'm not sure what the time frame for that is. But again, it shows a lack of firm, clear leadership. This is supposed to be a priority of this government, to stamp out corruption, to take concrete action where public funds are abused, such as in this case. Government adopted a national anti-corruption strategy in November last year. That strategy document speaks to many of these issues. It speaks to issues of whistleblowing, of the professionalization of the civil service, and developing a capable state, and improved governance and oversight, as well as, enhanced integrity in procurement processes. Now, work has started on all of those issues, but unless there's the political leadership to drive that, it's going to continue at a snail's pace, and we're going to have many, many years of corruption before we see real progress. And we need leadership from the top to say government is taking this seriously, and there will be consequences where wrongdoing is found.
Yeah. The department, what they did say was that the investigation found that the tender and bidding process followed was in contravention of the Public Finance Management Act. I mean, this in itself, again, is a major problem. And does this perhaps suggest that there isn't effective internal controls and oversight on these kind of processes?
I think that is exactly the case, and I think it's also worth noting, and if I'm not mistaken, this matter was flagged by the Auditor General. These contracts were flagged by the Auditor General during the audit of the Department of Health, and brought to the attention. So, it does show a serious failure of internal controls, of proper procurement processes with proper governance and oversight. And this is where the department and the minister need to take us into confidence and tell us exactly where these failures occurred and who is going to be held responsible for that. Because simply to say that there were irregularities in the system, that the contract was irregularly awarded, is meaningless unless there are consequences. And, 150 million rands for the Department of Health in the context of a pandemic is a lot of money. And we as the South African public must be demanding that money be recouped, The Auditor General has now the ability under the new legislation to refer matters to the law enforcement agencies if the government department fails to do so. So we want to see all of these legal mechanisms that were put in place starting to work so that people who steal from the public purse are held accountable.
Yeah, certainly. And also opposition parties, the question we're asking from our viewers today, and my final question to you today, opposition parties are saying that the health minister should step aside during these investigations. Do you agree? Do you think that that would be one way of telling the public, you know what, we actually are taking this very seriously?
You know, I think that would send a very, very strong signal, Leanne, to the South African public that this is a serious matter, that the minister takes it seriously, that the president takes it seriously, that our government takes it seriously. And, you know, surely the calls from opposition parties is to be expected. It's an opportunity for them to score political points. But this has to go beyond narrow politicking and goes to the issue of the integrity of the state and how serious we are about fighting corruption. We're going to get a report from Deputy Chief Justice Ondo in the next few months outlining what happened during the Iro state capture. And if we are unable to deal with issues that are staring us in the face like this, is there any hope that the recommendations of the Zondo Commission will actually be followed through?
Let's leave it there for this morning. Lawson, thanks very, very much, as always, for speaking to us. Talking to us is Lawson Naidoo, Executive Secretary from the Council for the Advancement of the South African Constitution, and basically giving us an overview of issues relating to accountability in light of what happened during the press briefing with the Minister yesterday and the issues surrounding digital vibes. Again, Lawson, thanks very, very much.